My name is Carmen Davenport, and you have tuned in to Get the Bag, Business, Assets, and Gains, where we talk to local businesses about their journey, some challenges, and many successes. Today, we have with us an award-winning, certified financial education instructor, independent life insurance advisor, CEO of Kristle Brooks Investment.
Yes.
Did I get all that right?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Okay, all
them
right.
titles and that long name.
So how are you today, Kristle?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
That's
Not
good.
too bad.
That's good. Thank you for having me on.
We are glad you are here.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
We see you today popping with your orange and your
I got called
curly
a
hair. Okay. So before we get started, I always like to talk about the person behind the product or service. So first, tell us, who is Kristle? Tell us about Kristle.
Kristle is one determined woman who does not let a loss define her. Meaning, whatever don't work, I'm going to find another way to make it work.
Okay.
So there's never an ending with me. There's always a restart and a new beginning.
I heard that. All right,
Yes.
we're going to come back. We're going to come back to that because that'll preach. But we're going to come back to that. So talk to us about what inspired you to start Kristle Brooks Investment.
Well, my whole journey was kind of unique because I had an incident that happened with me.
Okay.
And so that was me suffering a stroke and a brain aneurysm almost 9 years ago. And one day I was driving and I'm like, Lord, I know this ain't it. You didn't save me just to keep doing what I've been doing. I'm like, there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. So it took a few months, and then one day I was like, you know what? I need to learn about money.
Okay.
I said, I'm getting closer to retirement and I don't know nothing. So, I started searching, and the search led me to financial advice. And I was like, okay, I can do that. But I'm like, do I need to go back to school? How do I get into it? And then Mutual Omaha called, and they was like, do life insurance. I'm like, okay.
Why not, right?
Fine. So went on ahead, signed up, got the class, and started studying it. And started really learning what life insurance was about. And I said, good Lord, I have a story to tell. Because I've experienced the unexpected happening. My best friend experienced the unexpected happening. She was diagnosed with congestive heart failure at 39.
Wow.
Changed her whole life. So got into it, passed the test first time.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. So as I got into it, I started knowing my community wasn't grasping onto it. And I'm like, why aren't they grasping onto it? This is something that we need to have, and it's good. It's a good thing to have. And that's where the financial literacy came in.
Got you. Okay.
Because I'm like, but they don't understand finances. So if they don't understand finances, they're not going to understand the value of being prepared for unexpected life events. So they got me into that, into the financial literacy. And financial literacy, when I didn't even learn about the word until I was 46 years old.
Wow. Okay.
And when I started really researching it and looking at definitions, I said, good Lord, I need this. Because I had no financial skills. So I'm like, if I'm up here still struggling with finances, guess what? There's a whole group of people out there struggling with finances.
Absolutely.
And that just propelled my passion to give to the community, create a safe space for us to talk about our finances. Because everybody's not, hey, I need help. We keep it as a secret.
Yeah.
I'm trying to turn it from a secret to a conversation.
Okay. Okay. All right. Look, say it with your chest. So you do the financial literacy, right? And you also do life insurance.
Yes.
And I'm going to talk about this briefly, but you came and spoke at one of the cohorts at the Martin Christian Center, right? You spoke at one of the free business training programs. And I must say that it was one of the most enlightening sessions that we've had, just learning all the different things about life insurance that we didn't know. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, and I really want to talk about entrepreneurship and how important insurance is, but then I want you to jump over and talk about how important life insurance is, even if you're not a business owner, right? So tell us a little bit about the importance of life insurance and business insurance.
Right. So people don't even know the difference. They
Okay.
think, they call me, hey, I need business insurance. I'm like, business life insurance? They like, yeah, and they're talking about, like coverage for their equipment or coverage for, whatever is going on in their office. I'm like, no, that's not the same.
Okay.
So business life insurance, we have estate planning for our personal life, but we have succession planning for entrepreneurs.
Right.
And what people don't know is that succession planning is just as important as estate planning, because you are a business owner. Who do you want to carry on your legacy when you're no longer here or you retire?
Right.
And that's something that we don't think about. And we don't think about, again, because those conversations aren't happening. So when you get into succession planning, you're thinking about continuity, where are you going to get the money from, how much it costs to replace you, and what happens if you're in a partnership and one of the partners dies or the partnership dissolves.
Okay.
Because we have to think about if you're in a partnership and they pass away, what if their family wants to get involved?
Because they're part owner.
Right.
That's, you know what? That's good.
Yes,
that's
because
good.
that can cause a long legal battle that can take resources away from the business, that can shut the business down. Why not get that buy-sell agreement done where you know who gets what in the partnership, what happens if one of the partners passes away, and then use life insurance as your resource to pay out the families.
Business life insurance.
Yes, business life insurance to cover them, to cover whatever you got to pay out to the family. So that way, if your partner passes away, there's no ifs, ands, buts. You like, look, you know what? Here's your check.
Here's your money.
You done. My hands are clean.
And this is still my business.
Right. This is my business.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's the things I like talking about. I like talking about the things that's not discussed.
Okay.
Because, like I said, succession planning, people don't even know what it is. They don't even think about doing, like, even I know now my kids don't want my business. They don't like what I'm doing. They can care right now. They can care less. But if it changes, then I know I can do something else. So my business will probably be something where it will be sold.
Got you. Yeah.
So we have to think about who do we want to take over our business, and how do we have resources for whoever wants to take over it? Where do we get the money from for them to have continuity? Because it costs for them to bring in somebody else. So you still got to replace income. You still got to advertise. You still got to give them benefits. You still got to train them. Those are all costs. Where are you going to get the money from? What if you want to take the business in another direction? And that's going to have you to cost. That's going to add cost. So you got to start thinking about that stuff now versus later.
Okay. All right. So all the businesses tuning in, business life insurance and business insurance to cover your assets.
Yes.
Right. So there's two different potential policies that you might have to get.
Yes, and there's I only do the business life insurance. So I don't do the equipment stuff.
Okay. So business life insurance is your lane, and then business equipment, if they needed advice on where to get business equipment insurance, you can.
Yes, I can find somebody to refer them to. I'm always bringing in resources. I always want to be a resource to the community and entrepreneurs.
Okay. And then so we talked about business insurance, business life insurance. Now I want to flip over a little bit to personal. And I think that for me, one of the things that I didn't know is the mortgage life insurance.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that.
Well, mortgage life insurance is out there for those who have mortgages. And it's not just for a new homeowner. Sometimes they got stuff that's just for new homeowners. No, it's not. It's for new and existing homeowners. So you can either get a term policy where you say, you know what, I only want life insurance on a policy on my house for a certain term period. Or you can get a cash value life insurance. And the reason why I say both is because what if you want to do renovations on your house? Where are you going to get the money from? Do you want to take a loan out from the bank? Or do you want to have where you can pay yourself back and your money's still growing? And what people don't understand, the purpose of mortgage insurance is that if something was to happen, where's your family going to live? How are they going to pay the mortgage? You're the breadwinner. Your wife may work, but what if she doesn't make enough to pay that mortgage on her own? Or what if your husband doesn't make enough to pay the mortgage on his own? So instead of your family worrying about, man, we just lost our breadwinner, but now how are we going to pay the mortgage? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? That policy will cover the mortgage to where the house can be paid off. And all you have to take care of is the homeowner's insurance and taxes. But you can even have extra on that policy. So that way, if you want to put money in an interest-bearing account where it's going to gain interest, you can use that money to pay the taxes every year. So that way, it's not another financial burden on you that way, too.
Got you. Okay. All right. So we in education mode here tonight. So I'm going to ask the difference, because some people don't know the difference between your whole life and your term policies.
Okay. Well, term policies is something that's just for a certain time period. You know, we call that asset protection, because most people, when they get term, they only want it for a certain time period. You know, like I said, for mortgages, you know, they may want it for 20 or 30 years because they may have a 20 or 30-year mortgage, or because they may have young kids. So they only want that coverage for a certain amount of time, and it's only going to pay out the death benefit. And it's your cheapest form of life insurance. And then once that term period is up, they're going to look at your age at the time of renewal. And if, as you age up, that term policy is going to increase. And it'll keep on increasing to the point where you can't afford it anymore. But there are some carriers that allow you to convert it over to a permanent policy.
Okay, well, that's nice.
Right. So if you have a term policy and you're thinking about getting a term policy, make sure whoever you go through allows you to convert it.
What do you mean, whoever we go through?
Well, you know, y'all supposed to go through me.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure.
I was gonna give myself a shout out.
I was just making sure.
Kristle Brooks Investments, LLC. Right. Okay. Whereas with whole life has a cash value component on it where it's going to grow cash. So it's like a savings account where part of your premium is going to an account where it's accumulating compound interest and growing. Yes, you're going to have what we call front load expenses. That's where the insurance